Who were the first Egyptians? Egyptologists are strangely silent about who the first Egyptians actually were. In this video, as we continue to debunk the first Egyptians, we shall call you to follow us circumspectly, because we will be using the term the first Egyptians interchangeably with the modern and the old, and then debunk the lies of modern Egypt. What we want to lay as a foundation is that you must realize that Kamit, so-called ancient Egypt, was a black African civilization. It is not the heritage of the Arab Egyptians, Western Asians, or Europeans any more than the Mayan civilization is the heritage of the Spaniards. We invite you to enroll into Bantu Melanin University, where we share inherent Afro-salvation matters and power and information that, when applied, will change our lives for the best. This is your manager Topi, Preacher Rabbi LM Mjaganja, saying there are 4 most critical reasons we must study ancient Kamit and the history. Number 1, to understand who we are today and identify where we belong in ancient history and antiquity. Number 2, to recognize and prevent the mistakes that our ancestors and currently many of us could be making. Number 3, to demand and fight for historical justice and the truth. And then number 4, to know your enemy. The ultimate survival principle is that know who is your enemy. So the face of the first Egyptian is known, and this first Egyptian we are identifying is the indigenous one, and we are using Egyptian in protest. They used the face of a melanin dominant human being and labeled it HR. Huro would be the term that you may think of, but Huso is what it actually represents. It's a Bantu melanin dominant identity. And the ancient hieroglyphics symbol for face is similar to the one of Danai Gurira, an actress. So the Egyptologists will not teach or say anything about this. Until recently, the Egyptologists had very, very difficulty periods to admit that the model of the spearmen was Egyptian, and they called them Nubians, simply because of their phenotypes and according to the doctrine which arbitrarily establishes that whatever they really are, whatever is black is not Egyptian. Contradiction there. So we have debunked it. Another nonsensical argument used in ideological Egyptology without any basis whatsoever is that the jet color black used to paint divinities and pharaohs has spiritual connotations other than skin color. What nonsense is that? Not only is this illogical, but it is what has been perpetrated and what is thought of today by millions and millions of so-called educated and Egyptologists. Egyptologists and their sympathizers seem to have forgotten that the first Egyptians or Egypt is in Africa. That is its geographical location, and that there was no Middle East. It was all Africa. And the latest DNA ever sampled from ancient Kamit was that of a melanin dominant human being. Yes, Egypt is in Africa, literally next to Ethiopia, Sudan, than any other country in Europe or Asia or any other place other than in Africa. So why is there historical amnesia of thinking that Egypt is not in Africa unless there is a purpose? And also, what's the reason of having some state their noses chopped off? When you look at the real timeline of ancient Africa, you will find that pre-dynastic period of ancient Kamit begins around 14,000 BCE to about 3,100 BCE. It was of indigenous African civilizations. The key is the word punt, which has been masqueraded and bastardized to mean something else that cannot be understood. The letter P and the letter B are interchangeable in antiquity and in our languages. You can say Papa for father or Baba for father. So punt is Buntu, Bantu. So that's the identity that Egyptologists will never teach you. When they will never support it, they will find ways to debunk that. That's the original name of the country you call Egypt today. And the Kamit, that is Punt or Bantu or B&T. So from about 3000 BCE to about 2000 BCE, it was the Old Kingdom, which we have shown already was the Black Pharaohs era. The Middle Kingdom, which is 2000 to 1500, was also Cushitic. And the New Kingdom, 1500 to 1077, was an international one. It was also melanin dominant. Cushitic dynasty came back around 700, and from 656, we have never had it again. That was the end of it. Because then, the Persians came, 525 BCE. After that, the Greeks came, 332 BCE. The Romans came and ended the Persian as well as the Greek rule. And Alexander the Greek established the Ptolemaic dynasty, which ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years until 3rd BCE when the Roman Empire took over. The Roman Empire took over from 3rd BCE until 642 when the current Pale Arabs, the Seljuk Turks, and the Ottomans came over, and the Mamelukes are there now today. So the Arabs themselves are invaders. They are part and parcel of the Ottomans, who ruled for 300 years initially. Then the French came, and 1798 sparked Egyptomania with the reward of deciphering our language. And the British came around 1882 to 1856, further complicating everything. And we have the Ottomans, further sons that have continuously worked with their cousins, the Europeans, like Zahi Hawassi and Al-Aziz Atman. Most notable aspect of his rule was that he attempted to destroy the pyramid of Kamit. And it is a shock then that the people today want to say, no, he didn't try, while there is evidence that he did try. And then there is the Republic of Egypt that changed and shifted its name from Republic of Egypt 1953 to 58 to United Arab Republic, which included also Syria, proving that they were Arabs, not indigenous anyway. And from 1971 to today, it is called the Arab Republic of Egypt. The land itself remained called Kamit or Bantu or Ubuntu. The first Egyptians then, when we look at it from this perspective, were melanin dominant human beings from ancient antiquity. Their hair clearly debunks the current people that are there, and their phenotype debunks it. It is this video showing this, that everything you thought you knew about ancient Egypt hinges on the first Egyptians, to your understanding. Because if you are from Europe, you would think that King Tut's DNA is Western Europe. If you are an African, melanin dominant, you will know that King Tut is not from Europe. The studies have proved that the population of ancient Kamit had negroid hair, 4C type, straight hair, and many other phenotypical features that are very, very obvious, like what we are showing here. I know Europeans here, very, very critical. But the mainstream Egyptology works with the Eurocentric bias and the Pale Arab blatant lies, even in movies. I saw somebody who is a Pale Arab thinking that they look like the Sphinx. What nonsense is that? And clearly, Hollywood has done a lot of damage trying to show that the first Egyptians were Europeans, like this, the 10 Commandments, this movie, Moses and Ramesses. Genetic analysis of Ramses II's Y chromosome determined that he belonged to the E1P1A haplogroup, which is a Y chromosome DNA haplogroup that is most common in African Americans and is widely distributed all over Africa. It is prevalent in all Bantu sub-Saharan populations, in West and Central Africa, East Africa, and in Ghana. It is primarily distributed all over Africa. It has two basal branches, EV38, EM329, and EM2. and as a subclade mostly and profoundly found in East Africa. These are our ancestors. They go through a process they call restoration. And after restoration, our first indigenous people, the first Egyptians, eventually look like them. So don't listen to them. Don't even follow even one of them. Ignore them, remove them, debunk them, and use this video to debunk them. Number one, the ancient Hamiticians, first Egyptians, were not Europeans. Because if they were Europeans, this is statue of Jean-Francois Champollion, who deciphered the hieroglyphic, would not have his foot on the head of our greatest Pharaoh Ramesses II. This is proving our point that Europeans know the truth. There it is. Very, very important to understand. Now they continue to steal our culture, our spirituality, our religion, our achievements, and then they claim that it is theirs now. And this is reality, and this is their restoration. And the real Egyptians look like that. Melanin dominant. There is Besha. Melanin is a god, is a divinity. It doesn't look European. And there is the Catholics, the Christians, still again, and the Arabs now. They come, they say, oh, we were Pharaohs, we were Pharaohs. These are the Pharaohs. They call them, they were the Pharaohs. They are not. The whole Hollywood continues, even showing Meiji warriors in ancient Kamit who looked like this, and now they say they were looking like this. And when you go to the Phoenicians, they say, oh, the Phoenicians were Europeans. They were not. They were melanin-dominant Bantus. This is Phoenician king here. 549 to 539 BCE of Chadona, which you call Sidon or Sidon today. So who were the first Egyptians? Egyptian, that word, comes from the Greek Egyptos. And the Greeks got it from Wat Kapta, the house of the spirit of Ptah. This was actually referring to the temple of Ptah in Memphis. The Greeks named our entire civilization after only one temple. What kind of trickery is that? The first Greek pharaoh of Egypt. That's where you get your first Egyptian Europeans in modern times. We have debunked that because the original has been whitewashed, and they continue to try to show resemblances of what they then pick as mummies and label them like this mummy of Ramesses II, which is depicted today and was given a passport, which has a straight long face, whereas Ramesses, the original, number 2, was melanin dominant and round faced, blunt nose, thick lips and bull lips and a chin. This is very, very important to know that it is impossible to lie when the truth is carved in stone. Our melanin dominant Sahure or Sahara looked like that, not like this. Very, very important. Jose or Rosera or Jose with a mustache, melanin dominant, look at that. And someone comes and they say, oh, no, he was European. Look at the mouth. Look, whether he came modern, look at him. Melanin dominant, found inside the temple. There he is. Very important. You can see that. You can never be cheated when you know that Chinofura was a melanin dominant. We are showing him there. And Mambo Denda, Onkosi Denda, Onkosi Danda looked like that. Very, very, very clear. Egyptians, this term is Greek. You conquer it, you rename it, you own it. It is yours, but it's not original, and it's no longer ours in that case. So when you say none of these people are Egyptians, Sub-Saharan aren't Egyptians, that's correct. In the context of the Greeks that renamed the country Egyptian, we were not Egyptian. Never ever were we. But we were the first in that place and civilized that place. Today they come and say, Egypt is not in Africa. Or, if they cannot say that for obvious geographical reasons and correctness, then they say, no, the civilization was founded by Europeans. If you pin them hard, then they say, no, people from outer space did find that. Our ancestors, working with the gods, did found that. Makomke. The ancient Egyptians, they say, looked more like white folks than Africans. And when you show them the images, then they come back and try to run away and they can't fix it. And they show you that instead of the truth. And then the other lie is that they say Greece was the cradle of Western civilization, whereas the Greeks came to Africa to learn. And they said Africans played only a minor 70 role in the thousands of years of pharaonic rule, which is a lie, because they are the ones that are changing, and that they don't tell you that 99% of ancient Egyptian monuments are located closer to the Ethiopic border than any other Mediterranean kingdom of Greece, Babylon, Israel, or anywhere else. And there are more pyramids, over 2,000 pyramids in Sudan than in Egypt. And they are always saying Egypt and Africa, Egypt this, Egypt that. That is a lie. That's an Egyptological lie that we have debunked and that we are debunking today. So the first Egyptians have been debunked. Where is Egypt? Scientists decoded the oldest Egyptian DNA ever and found that it is from ancient Africa. The Egyptians themselves, they wrote in the Stele of Yebu that they came from the Great Lakes, the part you would call today Sadag region. And even honest scholars told them that the Egyptians were melanin dominant Negroes, black people, Africans, and they gave the whole world civilization. Count Divone said that restoration, you hear that word, is always to make images of the original people to look like the first Egyptians. Remember, the first Egyptians began when the Greeks conquered us, 332. That's where you find the first Egyptians. Before that, they were Bantus. Punt Bantus, who have already indicated. Now, the proof of it is always here. You can see that they can hide, and they cannot hide the truth even if they shoot their noses. Still, this is what they think, and they want to tell you that these are the first Egyptians, which is a fallacy. Egyptologists won't tell you that the whole continent of Africa was connected spiritually, culturally, and totemically. So we are showing here Zimbabwe bed, same as Horesu. The pre-dynastic Kamitians looked exactly like melanin-dominant human beings, as well as other people all over the earth. So here is the mandate of discovery that you need to engage in. When you find any religion, any spirituality, any race, any philosophy, any god, or any spirit that caused enslavement of your or my ancestors, it's not yours. When you find that they drove colonization and took our lands and named our lands, it's not ours. When they committed genocide against us and against our ancestors, it's not yours. When they destroyed our cultures, our languages, our history, our spirituality, our totems, it's not yours. Even if they harmed one single ancestor, it's not yours, even if they look melanin dominant. Remember, Islam allowed the enslavement of black people for over 1,500 years. And then the Dawa guys who come to you skip this part and then tell you about Bilal, who was a fool, an idiot, Bilal. So black people drop the religion of Christianity because of slavery, but then go on to convert to Islam, which is worse than Christianity. And both are worse anyway. Now, to free your melanin dominant identity, remember that you need to connect it and link it with the last and the great black civilization ever, which is Kamit, and followed by Mohenjo-Daro, Sumer, and the Maya. You need to use that to break through consciousness and destroy mental programming and reclaim your spirit. That's what you need. If you are following any of these philosophies, your spirit is gone, your car is gone, your soul is stolen. When you want to learn to rewrite the realities imposed on you and us as a people from any sphere of type of life, where there are no gurus, no fluff, deep practical metaphysics restructured for modern minds, you have to enroll into Bantu Melanin University. Find the links in the description and the emails. Your manager to Priest Rabbi LM Tumsulu Kunikeni Mujakanja says, yes, we are the first Bantus. We are not the first Egyptians because we are not Greeks. We are the first melanin dominant human beings. Amen.